Hi, Assassins. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Cami.
Welcome to Bookish Realms.
We're just two girls who can't stop talking about fantasy books.
Welcome to our deep dives of Heir of Fire. This episode covers chapters 59 through 62 of Heir of Fire. Like in past episodes, the chapter summaries and character discussion are spoiler-free, but the rest of the pod does include spoilers for all of Throne of Glass. This podcast is for mature audiences only. Cami, take it away, girl.
Let's get into some chapter summaries. As a reminder, this is a non-spoiler section where we summarize the chapters we'll cover in this episode. So, if you haven't read the entire series, but you have read chapters 59 through 62 of Heir of Fire, you can listen to this section. Chapter 59. Rowan and Celaena finally reach Maeve and Doranelle, and it's tense. Maeve drops some major info about the word keys and the Valg. Celaena's starting to understand just how high the stakes really are. Chapter 60. Celaena puts it all together. Maeve has been searching for the word keys for centuries just to gain more power. Celaena's done playing nice. She forces Maeve to release Rowan from his blood oath, but then Rowan chooses to swear a brand new oath to her. Chapter 61. Meanwhile, back at the Faring Gap, the war games are heating up. During a flying competition, Isra goes full evil bitch and attacks Petra and her wyvern midair. It's brutal and cruel and definitely against the rules. Chapter 62. Manon makes a huge decision. She chooses to save Petra's life, even though her grandmother definitely disapproves. That act of mercy doesn't go unnoticed. The Blackbeaks win the Word Games, and Manon is officially crowned wing leader. And while we celebrate Manon being crowned wing leader, we have to plug our friends over at Pots and Plots. They sent us some of their wing leader coffee blend, and we are obsessed. Coffee keeps us and this podcast running, and we're loving this blend. It's definitely Manon approved. We'll have their info linked in the show notes so you can go and give them some love.
Welcome to Character Discussion. Here we'll do a quick recap of the characters from this set of chapters. For our main characters, we will discuss who they are, what we know, and give a golden line from this set of chapters. As always, this section will remain spoiler-free. For the quick recap, we will be talking about Asterin. Asterin is showing off to Manon by pulling off a complex move with her wyvern that they haven't seen yet, proving that she has been putting in that work. She also has Manon's back, making sure she doesn't drink anything after winning Wing Leader, warning her that people might try to poison her. You can start to see a lighter, more playful side to Asterin and Manon as they relax a bit, moving away from their usual tough, hard exteriors. For this set of chapters, the main characters are Celaena, Rowan, and Manon. Let's start with Celaena. Celaena has finally come to terms with her emotions and the immense power she wields. She's learned to control her magic, even giving Maeve a little demonstration when she orders Rowan to be whipped, because we all know Celaena would rather take the pain herself than watch someone she cares about suffer. She also gains her first loyal court member, as Rowan swears the blood oath to her. After the encounter with Maeve, Celaena gets tattooed by Rowan to memorialize those she's lost, her parents, Marion, Nehemia, Sam, and others from her court. This marks a turning point where she no longer carries their loss in silence or shame, but embraces it as part of her journey. Celaena's golden line from this set of chapters is, quote, "Behold my power, Maeve. Behold what I grapple with in the deep dark, what prowls underneath my skin." Next up, we have Rowan. In these set of chapters, Rowan is distant and quiet, preparing himself for the challenges ahead with Maeve. He stops Celaena from revealing the location of the third word key, knowing that Maeve will use any means necessary to extract that information from him. As punishment, Rowan is ordered to be whipped by his own cadre, a brutal order from Maeve. But in a shocking twist, Rowan is honorably released from his blood oath with Maeve. Although the emotional and physical toll is immense, Rowan is finally free from Maeve's control. The chapter ends with Rowan demanding that Aelin make a blood oath with him, showing his shift from one bond to another, one with someone who he truly cares about. Rowan's golden line from this set of chapters is so sweet. Quote, "Together, Fireheart," he said, pushing back the sleeve of her tunic. "We'll find a way together." He looked up from her exposed wrist. "A court that will change the world," he promised. Next up, we have Manon. In this set of chapters, Manon is competing in the war games, leading the Blackbeaks to victory and earning the title of wing leader, just as her grandmother expected. However, during the games, Manon makes a bold choice to save Petra as Iskra's wyvern, Keely, is attacked. This goes against everything that she's been taught by her grandmother. Petra is deeply grateful for her help. Afterwards, Manon returns to the Omega and is forced to kill the Kraken Witch as part of her reward for winning Wing Leader, to demonstrate her grandmother's control over her. Manon struggles with regret for not knowing the witch's name, showing that she's changing and beginning to confront her emotions, something that she has not done before. Manon's golden line from this set of chapters is, quote, "Fools for not knowing what they've unleashed." Asterin murmured, the words carried to Manon on the wind. "Stupid mortal fools."
Let's explore this world. Here we cover the main world building elements that come up in chapters 59 through 62. We'll revisit these places and world building elements in other episodes. For today, this section is not spoiler free, so if you haven't finished the entire series, please do not continue, but please come back when you have. Let's talk about Doranel. Doranel is a Fae city which for centuries was ruled by Queen Maeve. Known as the City of Rivers, it is located east of Wendland, beyond the Cambria Mountains. The journey into Doranel goes through a dangerous mountain range patrolled by Maeve's wild wolves and leads down into a warm valley filled with forests, fields, and villages. Let's get into the city itself. Built of pale, polished stone, Doranel sits on an island where multiple rivers meet. The waters surround the city and pour over a massive waterfall at its northern edge, which casts mist into the air. That mist lights up the buildings, spires, and rooftops, which are all made of blue tile. Two elegant stone bridges, which are heavily guarded, span the rivers and serve as the only entrances into the city. Inside the city, the streets are winding and elegant. By night, they are full of music, dancing, and vendors selling hot food and mulled drinks. Despite its beauty, Doranel carries the weight of Maeve's rule. Her influence is everywhere. Maeve's palace sits near the waterfall. It is built from the same pale stone as the city, with sky blue curtains, tiled mosaic floors, and high arched ceilings. Small streams from the river flow throughout the palace itself, forming pools filled with night-blooming lilies. Jasmine grows around the columns, and colored glass lanterns cast soft light across open-air halls. Faint music drifts throughout the palace, quiet and calm compared to the louder, livelier streets outside. Despite its beauty, it's still a fortress. Sentries are positioned throughout the grounds, and the scent of steel hangs in the air. Maeve's throne sits on a stone veranda overlooking the roaring waterfall. Doranel didn't fall under Otterland's control, but it also didn't send help. For 10 years, while Maeve ruled in luxury, other continents burned and kingdoms fell. After the events of Kingdom of Ash, Maeve no longer rules Doranel. The city has passed to Selene Whitethorn, a shift in power that marks the end of one era and the beginning of another.
This is our analysis and foreshadowing section, which is not spoiler-free. We will break down parts of the text that tie into or foreshadow future events in the series. If you have not read all of Throne of Glass, please do not continue. Let's start with a recap. Previously on Heir of Fire, Selena faced off against the Valk princes outside of Mistward and torched them with her fire magic, thanks to a little Karanam backup from Rowan, but the fight nearly broke her. The Valk dragged her through every painful memory, including the night her parents were murdered, and Lady Marion gave up her life to save her. With Rowan's help, she pulls through and unleashes a wave of fire that turns Narok and the Valk to ash. After the battle, Selena and Rowan start heading to Doranel to confront Maeve. Selena realizes that the Amulet of Orent is actually the last word key, and a Robin Hamill has it. Meanwhile, in Rifthold, Dorian and Kale dig into how magic was wiped out, and word spreads of Aelin's fiery victory. Across the kingdom, people start to hope again because the Queen of Terrasen is rising, baby.
Let's start with Selena and Rowan. They journey for a week through mountains and forests to reach Doranel. We covered Doranel in world building, so we won't get too in-depth into the descriptions of it here. But unfortunately, this journey isn't what Selena imagined it would be because it means leaving Rowan, and Rowan is clearly affected by this as well. Quote, he'd fallen silent in the past day, not rude, but quiet and vague, as if he were rebuilding the wall between them. This morning, she'd awoken in their hilltop camp to find him staring at the sunrise, looking for all the world as if he'd been having a conversation with it. She hadn't had the nerve to ask if he'd been praying to Mala Firebringer, or what he would even ask of the sun goddess. But there had been a strangely familiar warmth wrapped around the camp, and she could have sworn that she felt her magic leap in joyous response. She didn't let herself think about it. At the end of this book, Rowan confirms that he had indeed been praying to Mala Firebringer. He prayed for Mala to guide Aelin through her encounter with Maeve so that she'd survive it, but Rowan also prayed that maybe they'd find a way to stay together. And this is why we've said throughout this book that Mala has a soft spot for Rowan. Both of these things do come true. Aelin hears Mala in her head as she talks to Maeve, and Rowan is freed from his blood oath to Maeve. This isn't the only time that Mala helps Rowan out. In Kingdom of Ash, Mala tells Aelin that the tattoo on her back is a map home. Mala also gives Aelin a kernel of power so that Aelin doesn't have to sacrifice all of herself to forge the lock. Basically, Mala is the only real true homie amongst all these shitty-ass gods.
Literally, bruv. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but literally. Sorry, I don't know who I think I am. I do that sometimes. But It's our podcast. We can do what we want. Anyways, they continue on to Dornell. Selena spends the day gathering her strength and preparing herself mentally before heading to face Maeve's bitch ass. And as they get closer, Selena keeps playing with the ring in her pocket and running through her plan in her head, because of course she is. Quote, she was as much a queen as Maeve. She was the sovereign of strong people and a mighty kingdom. She was the heir of ash and fire, and she would bow to no one. This is the moment we have all been fucking waiting for. Aelin is claiming her power, baby. She is using her duty to her people and the strength of her kingdom to center her. And we have said it a million times, and we'll probably say it a million fucking more. But the first section of this book is titled Heir of Ash, and the second section is titled Heir of Fire. In order for Aelin to claim her identity, she needed to accept both the ashes and the fire. She needed to accept the past and embrace her fucking power. And so they arrive. Selena and Rowan are led through Maeve's palace. Maeve waits on her stone throne, flanked by 2 wolves, 1 black, 1 white, Connell and Fenris, respectively. And Maeve doesn't even acknowledge Rowan's bow, keeping her focus on Selena with her signature spider smile. And her violet starry eyes, anyways, the description of Maeve are haunting when you know that she's the Val Queen. And also, you best believe we will be talking about this in the Maasverse. We will. We simply will. If you know, you know. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you. Get it together.
If you don't read ACOTAR and Crescent City, please, before you listen to the Maasverse episode. Thank you so much. Their conversation turns to the word keys. Maeve confirms that they can't be destroyed, only returned to the gate, but she says that she doesn't know how. Selena prompts Maeve to share more. So Maeve says, quote, I know they can be used to create, to destroy, to open portals, but I do not know how to put them back. I never learned how. And then they were taken by Brandon across the sea, and I never saw them again. Maeve is giving some answers, but is still holding back. She's only sharing what keeps her in control because that's her whole thing. But the words that she uses give her away. Maeve says the keys were taken by Brandon. Taken, not willingly handed over like she'd been previously told. Before coming to Dornell, Selena realized that the third word key was hidden in the Amulet of Orin, and that the person who has the word key determines how its power is used. Her people used it for good. And that's really important because we learned that the word keys are basically able to do everything. They can literally shape reality. They can create, build, and alter things. They can destroy. With a word key, someone could wipe out armies, cities, or even entire lands. And they can open portals, which is how the Valg, Maeve included, cross into Aurelia. The word keys connect realms and worlds. While the word keys might be in Aurelia, they're not bound to one world or timeline. They're connected to everything. But more on that in our Maasverse episode.
Selena wants more information, though, because, also us too, girl. She asks Maeve what the word keys look like and what they feel like. Quote, Maeve cupped her palm and looked at it as if she could see the keys lying there. Black and glittering, no more than slivers of stone, but they were not stone. They were like nothing on this earth in any realm. It was like holding the living flesh of a god, like containing the breath of every being in every realm all at once. It was madness and joy and terror and despair and eternity. I'm sorry, but we are eating up this description because what do you mean they feel like touching the flesh of a god? Actually, what do you mean by that? And what do you mean that they contain the essence of all existence? Please, Maeve, fucking go deeper. Maeve describes them as feeling like eternity, madness, and divine power, kind of like holding fate in your hands, which makes sense since the word literally means fate. The word and word keys are like raw cosmic power, and we see that in this description. But that leaves the question, who made the word? We know the Valg made the word keys to control the word gates, and Maeve made her own word gate. But we have so many questions and theories about this that unfortunately we cannot talk about here. Tune in to the Maasverse. You're going to hear us say that 1,000 times in the next 2 episodes. Sorry.
Literally 1,000 times. Selena takes this information in and is horrified by the idea of Maeve having all 3 word keys, but pushes that fear aside and demands more information. As you should, Queen. Maeve claims that she remembers nothing else, so Selena shifts focus and starts asking about the Valg princes.
Maeve says her men told her about the Valg princes that were bouncing around Mistward, and then she says, quote, there are many different races of Valg, creatures that even your darkest nightmares would flee from. They are ruled by the princes, who themselves are made of shadow and despair and hatred and have no bodies to occupy, save those they infiltrate. There are many princes, but I once witnessed an entire legion of Fae warriors devoured by 6 of them within hours. Maeve reveals that there are many kind of Valg, and I feel like we often forget this detail that she drops here. The Valg princes have no physical bodies. They can only have a body when they possess someone, which again, it poses so many questions. What do they do when they are not possessing someone? Does their conscious just float around as a shadow until it takes someone in? Maeve also says that there aren't many Valg princes, but I don't know. We've already seen 4 of them, and that seems like 4 too many, plus the one in Dorian, plus the other 2 that are in Caltaine and Roland. So that's 7 Valg princes, which is again 7 too fucking many if you ask us. There should be 0, actually.
Okay, did you remember that about them not having bodies? I literally was like, wait, isn't that weird? I don't know. Selena counters that she was able to kill the Valg princes with her fire and light. Maeve replies, quote, how do you think Brandon won himself such glory and a kingdom? He was a discarded son of nobody, unclaimed by either parent. But Mala loved him fiercely, so his flames were sometimes all that held the Valg princes at bay until we could summon a force to push them back. I love a Brandon Galathinius lore drop. I love getting information about him. Brandon was bastard born and neither of his parents claimed him. Despite that, Mala, again, a goddess, loved him and blessed him with her fire magic, which is why that magic runs through the Galathinius lineage. Basically, Brandon Galathinius was just some dude until he wasn't. And I feel like I forgot about that until this reread. But Mala's love for Brandon is what makes her feel more human than the other gods. Elena was their daughter. They also had other daughters. Again, so many questions. Mala has empathy and care because Aelin is one of her descendants. This is also confirmation for Aelin that her fire/light does actually give her an advantage over the Valg, which our girl desperately needed because things are looking really rough at this point in time.
Yeah, very, very rough. But Selena is shocked and clarifies, quote, Brandon wasn't royal born. Selena assumed Brandon was royal born because he was the founder and king of Terrasen. And we have so many questions about Brandon's mommy and daddy because Brandon was a full-blood Fae, which means both of his parents were Fae. And we don't really learn much about his childhood other than he was born in Wendelin. And like we said earlier, Brandon was just Brandon until Mala blessed him with his powers. But it's very interesting that his entire backstory is such a mystery because he ends up being kind of a big deal, and not just in the Throne of Glass world. But again, I'm so sorry to say this. We can't say much about it here. You're just going to have to wait 2 weeks until our Maas verse drops.
Maeve scoffs at Selena and asks if anyone ever told her about the mark on her brow. Selena says she was told it was a sacred mark, but Maeve clarifies, quote, Maeve's eyes dance with amusement. Sacred only because of the bearer who established your kingdom. But before that, it was nothing. Brandon was born with the bastard's mark, the mark every unclaimed, unwanted child possessed, marking them as nameless, nobody. Each of Brandon's heirs, despite their noble lineage, has been graced with it, the nameless mark. The nameless mark. Okay. Again, so many questions about this, and we will do a whole mini-sode about the nameless prophecy when it is fully revealed in Empire of Storms, but we'll get a little bit into it here. 1, absolutely hate that Maeve's eyes dance with amusement because she knows about the nameless prophecy and knows that Aelin doesn't have the info to put the pieces together yet. 2, we have to assume that being born with a bastard's mark is a Fae thing, which, why? It just seems very cruel and weird. Where did this come from? But it is also so SJM to take something like a bastard's mark and twist it. Brandon, a bastard, a nameless nobody, founded Terrasen and became king. Brandon changed that mark from something shameful to something sacred. But the reality is that Brandon's heirs are marked with it because they are seen as a sacrifice by the gods. One of his heirs, aka Aelin, is expected to sacrifice themselves to forge the lock so the gods and goddesses can return to their home world. Lastly, and this is a total side note and we do not mean to make any assumptions, but it is interesting that Brandon, who was, quote, unclaimed, unwanted, and nameless, becomes who he is. SJM was adopted, and while we know very little about the impact that that's had in her life, it's hard not to feel the echoes of that experience in this very specific storyline.
Selena remembers her mark glowing during the duel with Cain and starts realizing that this mark flares up around Valg. She also remembers that the Valg inside of Cain recognized Elena and called both of them out when it said, "You were brought here, all of you were, all the players in the unfinished game." The Valg inside of Cain is the first one to mention this unfinished game, and Aelin is putting together that this mark has something to do with whatever the unfinished game is. And if you've listened to us for a while, you know we have a bigger theory about how the unfinished game is playing out in the Maasverse, which we'll definitely explore in this book's Maasverse episode. I'm so sorry. We've said this already 10 times. I apologize, but it's just we're really just dropping good promo for if you want to hear more, you gotta continue.
Selena continues by asking Maeve if fire and light are the only ways to kill a Valg prince. Maeve answers, they are hard to kill, but not invincible. With the way the Otterlanian king compels them, cutting off their heads to sever the collar might do the trick. If you are to return to Otterland, that will be the only way, I suspect. When Selena returns to Rifthold, beheading is the method that they use to kill the Valg. But Maeve doesn't even remotely tell Selena the whole truth here. I'm surprised she even told her about beheading them, to be honest, because again, Maeve needs the upper hand. Maeve knows that the key to killing the Valg are the healers, but there's no way that she's going to give Aelin that information.
Maeve explains that the king of Otterland can only summon a few Valg princes with one key, but with all three, he could open the portal fully, summoning the entire Valg army, and even control the dead without needing magic-wielding posts, which is interesting. Selena realizes how horrific this threat could be. The king could have an unstoppable undead Valg army under his control. He could destroy this world and others. But then, a powerful, calming female presence suddenly wraps around her. Quote, a calming warmth wrapped around her as if someone had pulled her into an embrace. Feminine, joyous, infinitely powerful. This doom has yet come to pass, it seemed to whisper in her ear. There is still time. Do not succumb to fear yet. This is Mala, fulfilling Rowan's prayers. He asked Mala to guide Aelin, and in this moment, Mala is trying to calm Aelin down. And Mala's energy and vibes are good. Aelin feels joy, and she's feeling light. And Mala's message is powerful too. There is still time to change things. There is still time to fight. Yes, there is a possibility that the king could obtain all three keys, but it has yet to happen. And it's really interesting message coming from Mala, who, again, is a goddess, because Aelin's fate has been decided by the gods and goddesses, but it really does feel like Mala is telling Aelin that they can change this outcome. Mala ultimately does help Aelin change her fate by giving her back that kernel of power and telling her about the map on her back.
Selena realizes that Brandon had all three word keys, but instead of returning them to the gate, he hid them. She knows he has to have had a reason for that, but hasn't 100% put the pieces together yet. Maeve admits that she doesn't know where the word keys are now, but guesses Aelin has a clue about the third and starts pressing her for answers. That's when Aelin begins noticing that everything in the palace and city is made of stone, not wood. But when Aelin refuses to speak, Maeve uses Rowan as leverage, forcing him to reveal what he knows by using the blood oath bond. Maeve then orders Rowan to be whipped by his own friends. Again, fuck this bitch. Using his pain to try to break Selena. But Rowan stays strong. Quote, she opened her mouth, but Rowan lifted his head, teeth bared, his face savage with pain and rage. He knew she could read the word in his eyes, but he still said, don't. Mind you, Rowan is literally defying the blood oath by speaking. Just to say that one word, he had to fight against the bond. Later in the series, we see just how much effort it takes to fight against it, and he does it here for Aelin.
Rowan defying Maeve's blood oath is what makes Selena snap. She's been secretly putting a damper on her magic and spiraling down into it. Now she uses it against Maeve, who is rightfully terrified, as she fucking should be. Aelin unleashes a powerful, controlled wildfire that covers Doranel without burning anyone. She moves towards Maeve and says, quote, you wanted a demonstration? Selena said quietly. Sweat trickled down her back, but she gripped the magic with everything she had. One thought from me and your city will burn. It is stone, Maeve snapped. Selena smiled. Your people aren't. Let's fucking go, baby. This is the Selena/Aelin we've come to know and love. Strong, arrogant, and smart as hell. Maeve threatened Aelin by using Rowan as leverage, and now Aelin is putting Maeve in her place by threatening Maeve's entire fucking city. Aelin confronts Maeve, daring her to test her and revealing that Maeve never wanted her to master her magic. She wanted to measure her power. Maeve wanted to see just what kind of threat Aelin could pose, and she's showing her that don't fuck with me, bitch. Literally.
Literally, don't fuck with me, bitch. I love her. I love that line. Your people aren't. Okay. And then Aelin reveals all the pieces she's been slowly putting together by listening to Emerys' stories and comparing them to the history she already knew. Again, our girl has been plotting. Aelin accuses Maeve of lying about the past. Maeve didn't help Brandon and Athril with the word keys. She tried to fucking steal them. When Athril found out and fought her, Maeve killed him, and Brandon used that moment to take the keys and disappear, leaving only Athril's sword behind. Quote, it was by Brandon had hidden the word key in his household's heirloom to give them that extra ounce of power, not against ordinary enemies, but in case Maeve ever came for them. Perhaps he had not put the keys back in the gate because he wanted to be able to call upon their power should Maeve ever decide to install herself as mistress of all lands. Ooh. We've touched on this before, but Brandon did not know Maeve was a valid queen. But even without knowing, Brandon knew something was so fucking off with Maeve and that she should not have access to the word keys. Again, this whole thing is only part of the truth. Aelin will later figure out that the other reason Brandon hid the keys was because he knew that one of his descendants would have to find them and sacrifice themselves to forge the lock. The number of times we repeated that, did you guys know that she has to sacrifice herself and forge the lock? But the fact that Aelin even thinks, quote, should Maeve ever decide to install herself as mistress of all lands is so interesting in the context of the Maasverse, since we know the word keys would allow her to not just conquer this world, but enter other worlds as well.
Aelin calls Maeve out. She realized that Maeve built Dornell in stone and surrounded by water to protect herself from Brandon's heirs because Maeve fears their fire magic. And so, Aelin reveals just how powerful she is, but not through some big show. She shows Maeve that her true strength isn't just in power, it is in her control. Aelin extinguishes all of her flames, refuses to give Maeve Goldrin, and opens her mind to Maeve. Aelin begins showing Maeve a false vision to trick her into thinking Aelin has a master plan and Maeve won't be able to stop her. In this fake vision, Maeve sees Aelin and Orinth being worshipped by thousands. The people chant her name as she stands on a balcony with her court behind her. All her enemies have been defeated because she has collected and used all 3 word keys. She's more than a queen. She is almost a goddess. But this vision isn't a dream. It is a warning. Narok showed her this vision as a gift, showing what Aelin could become if she kept the word keys. Selena pulls back from Maeve, knowing the queen believed the vision and now fears her. She warns Maeve not to harm Rowan again, but Maeve insists Rowan still belongs to her. And so, Selena pulls out a ring from her pocket, but it is not Kale's ring. Oh, no, it's not. It's Athril's ring, which Selena found during the face-off with the lake creature. Maeve demands it back, but of course, Aelin refuses, mocking her for being sentimental. We covered this in episode 5 of our Heir of Fire deep dives, but this ring grants the wearer immunity from the Valg. In Kingdom of Ash, Aelin slips this ring onto Maeve's finger, which ultimately destroys her bitch ass.
Absolute slay. Absolute slay. And Aelin's been saving this ring for this exact moment. She looks at Rowan and thinks, quote, all of it for him. For Rowan, who had known exactly what sword he was picking up that day in the mountain cave, who had thrown it to her across the ice as a future bargaining chip. The only protection he could offer her against Maeve if she was smart enough to figure it out. She had only realized what he'd done, what he'd known all along, when she'd mentioned the ring to him weeks ago, and he told her he hoped she found some use for it. He didn't yet understand that she had no interest in bargaining for power or safety or alliance. All of it for him. Okay. Again, our girl has been plotting. Aelin realizes that Rowan intentionally gave her Goldrin, knowing it was Brandon's sword, and he knew what the ring would mean to Maeve. Rowan wanted to protect Aelin from Maeve to help her in some way, and Aelin, thankfully, pieced it all together later when Rowan casually hinted that he hoped she'd find some use for that ring. But Rowan doesn't realize that Aelin has no plans on using that ring as a way to bargain for power, safety, or alliance. Aelin, again, has no interest in playing Maeve's games. She just wants to save him.
I love them so much. And so, Selena bargains for what she really wants. Quote, I'll make a trade with you, though. Your beloved's ring for Rowan's freedom from his blood oath. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Rowan and Aelin have clawed their way out of the darkness together. The only thing Aelin really wants is for him to be free, for them to walk out of Dornell together.
Maeve insists that a blood oath is eternal, but Aelin literally doesn't give a shit about that. Aelin threatens to melt Athril's ring right then and there. And this is when we were rereading. This is where I just had to pause and ask if Maeve really does have a soul. I am so confused as to why Maeve wouldn't just let Aelin melt the ring. Maeve wants this ring so it can't be used against her the way that Aelin does end up using it in Kingdom of Ash, so melting it would ensure no one can use it. Is Maeve so arrogant that she would prefer to keep the ring knowing that it could be used against her? Does Maeve want it as another layer of protection in case her Val King husband Orcus comes for her? Or is she actually really sentimental about this ring? We never get a clear answer on Maeve's actual feelings, or if she can have them, about Athril, but this entire moment is so confusing because really, the smartest thing she could have fucking done is let Aelin melt this ring. This is the whole reason she goes down in Kingdom of Ash. I'm so confused. You can't be this dumb. I'm just saying.
Maybe she does have feelings. I don't know. And Selena takes Maeve's hesitation as a sign that she is sentimental about this. Quote, Maeve's eyes remained on the ring, and Selena understood why. It was why she dared try it. To Selena, this ring is Maeve's last connection to Athril. She thinks that that's why Maeve is staring at it and weighing if having her lover's ring is worth freeing Rowan. And honestly, again, is that actually why Maeve goes for this? Is Maeve actually being fucking sentimental in this moment? Selena thinks that she understands Maeve in this moment because Selena struggled with letting go of the ring that Kale had gave her and thinks that Maeve might resonate with those feelings. This just brings up so many fucking questions about Maeve's true nature. Is she actually experiencing emotions in this moment? Or is it all for her personal gain? Does she think that this ring is worth trading Rowan because of what the ring can do? Or is it because the ring brings up memories of Athril? Interesting. Interesting.
Regardless, it works because Maeve does the unthinkable. She releases Rowan from his blood oath, doing it honorably. Selena tosses her the ring. The cadre is stunned, on the floor. They were like, we literally didn't know this was an option. Rowan immediately turns to Aelin, ready to swear himself to her. But she pulls back, not wanting to accept the kind of total submission a blood oath requires. But Rowan does not hesitate, and they have one of their wordless conversations. Quote, Rowan's face was calm, though, steady, assured. Trust me. Aelin, again wordlessly, replies, I don't want you enslaved to me. I won't be that kind of queen. But Rowan insists, you have no court, you are defenseless, landless, and without allies. If they weren't friends, this would be an absolute, he's reading her for filth in this moment. She might let you walk out of here today, but she could come after you tomorrow. She knows how powerful I am, how powerful we are together. It will make her hesitate. Aelin says, please don't do this. I will give you anything else you ask, but not this. But Rowan ends the conversation, the wordless conversation, by saying, I claim you, Aelin, to whatever end. Rowan is sure of his choice. This is the first time that he's been given a choice in centuries, and his first choice is Aelin. I'm going to say this again because I can't get over it. Rowan's first choice as a free fae male is to claim Aelin. But Aelin doesn't want to be that kind of queen and worries that by letting him take the blood oath, she's taking his freedom away in the same way that Maeve has done for centuries. But this isn't about that, and Rowan knows it. He trusts her, and he knows that she needs him because together, their power is a threat to Maeve. And again, ultimately, Rowan just wants to protect Aelin.
Selena hesitates, but someone else is there too. Someone who's been watching over them this whole time. Quote, she might have continued to silently argue with him, but that strange feminine warmth that she'd felt at the campsite that morning wrapped around her, as if assuring her it was all right to want this badly enough that it hurt, telling her that she could trust the prince. And more than that, more than anything, she could trust herself. Aelin feels that warm feminine energy again. It's Mala responding to Rowan's earlier prayer. This is why we are deeply in the camp that Mala has a soft spot for Rowan and Aelin, because Mala encourages her to stop fighting Rowan, stop fighting what she wants, and trust the choice that Rowan is making. And Mala reminds Aelin to trust herself, her instincts, and her heart.
Selena lets Rowan swear the blood oath. Quote, together, Fireheart, he said, pushing back the sleeve of her tunic. We'll find a way together. He looked up from her exposed wrists. A court that will change the world, he promised. And then she was nodding and smiling too, as he drew the dagger from his boot and offered it to her. Say it, Aelin. Not daring to let her hands shake in front of Maeve or Rowan's stunned friends, she took his dagger and held it over her exposed wrists. Do you promise to serve in my court, Rowan Whitethorn, from now until the day you die? She did not know the right words or the old language, but a blood oath wasn't about pretty phrases. I do, until my last breath and the world beyond, to whatever end. The way that we're both crashing out right now. Absolutely crashing out. But with that, Rowan Whitethorn became the first member of Aelin's court. And we are actually in tears. And revisiting this moment shows us that it's so much more than a blood oath. This is a promise that they'll face whatever comes next together and that they'll build a court that will change the world together. Aelin doesn't need the fancy words or the ritual because this blood oath isn't about submission. It's about loyalty. It's very obviously a shared devotion, a true partnership, which is the opposite of what Maeve's shitty ass blood oath was like for Rowan. So
I'm sorry, but why am I tearing up? The way that this series has me so emo is crazy. Like, I'll be like, girl, I literally, sometimes when we read, like, we've been rereading, and at some points, I literally will start crying, and I'm like, girl, man up. Like, pull it together. Like,
I'm like, am I okay? Like,
yes.
No, literally.
I don't know. It's literally insane. But Selena cuts her palm open and Rowan drinks her blood, which, like, okay. But anyways, sealing the blood oath. Cool. For a heartbeat, something lightning bright snapped through her and then settled, a thread binding them, tighter and tighter with each pull Rowan took of her blood. 3 mouthfuls, his canine pricking against her skin. And then he lifted his head, his lips shining with her blood, his eyes glittering and alive and full of steel. There were no words to do justice to what passed between them in that moment. I'm sorry, but the description of the blood oath is very similar to the description of a mating bond snapping into place, a thread that binds them together. And again, this blood oath isn't just a vow, it's a bond of trust, power, and loyalty. And we can see how much it means to Rowan. His eyes are alive. There's something moving in there now, and intense when he looks up at Aelin. Neither of them speaks because this entire moment is just too powerful for words. But I'm sorry, I feel like you can't tell me that this wasn't the point in time that their mating bond also snapped into place. Because I know that for Aelin, she doesn't realize it until the arrow goes through him in Queen of Shadows. But, like, you can't tell me that this wasn't the moment that, like, it actually did snap in place. I'm sorry.
I agree. They both had so many suspicions about it, but there were just too many things that kept them from being like, hey, was this our mating bond? You know, like, hey, I know we just went through a lot of things and, like, all of that, but, like, are you also my mate before I get on this ship? Like, hey.
Yeah.
How y'all doing? Oh my God, this had me fucking... Okay, this moment had me spiraling. And I think actually I'm just stupid, but I'm going to read it anyway. Maeve tells him to get the hell out because they've embarrassed her enough. But something about this moment is odd. Quote, shoulder to shoulder, they looked at the Fae Queen one last time. One last time. But there was only a white barn owl flapping off into the moonlit night. Okay, the way that this is phrased makes it seem like one of two things happened after Maeve watched Rowan swear the blood oath. One, she somehow vanished into the night. We know that Maeve can world walk, but there's no way that she did that in this moment. So how does she disappear? They look at her and she's not there anymore. But also the way that this is phrased makes it seem like when they look for Maeve, they just see the owl instead. We know that that owl is the enslaved Fae healer in their secondary form, which Maeve keeps as a line of defense. But again, the way that it's written almost makes it seem like Maeve turned into the owl. It's actually like very confusing because we know that Maeve doesn't have a secondary form, which is actually one of the red flags for her being an imposter early on. I just don't understand why this was written like this. Like, shoulder to shoulder, they looked at the Fae Queen one last time. So she should be there. But there was only a white barn owl flapping off into the moonlit night. Am I crazy?
No, because I didn't even catch that.
Okay,
but like
thank you.
When you were reading it out loud, I was like, wait, they looked back and they just saw the owl? Like, is it, wait, huh?
Am I crazy? Okay. When I was rereading, I was like, wait, am I having reading comprehension issues? No. It reads like she's supposed to be there, she's not, but the owl is there.
Yeah. Where the fuck did she go? Oh, that's so interesting. I don't know.
Thank you. You put it in there, and I was going to make a little note of like, we don't have to read this if I'm stupid, but I'm glad that you catch what I'm putting down because it really tweaks me out.
Yeah, that's strange. I did not catch that on the first time and the second time either. Interesting. Now I have questions. Selena and Ron ski-daddle out of Dornell without looking back. They find safety in a small, quiet town. And at dawn, Aelin asks Rowan to tattoo her back. He prepares the tools and sketches some designs for her. Cool. Over breakfast, he'd already sketched a few designs for her approval. They were so perfect, it was as if he'd reached into her soul to find them. It hadn't surprised her at all. Again, I think their mating bond had already fucking stepped into place. But anyways, this is so beautiful. Rowan knows Aelin's soul. His understanding of her runs so deep that his designs perfectly match who she is inside. And Aelin, our sweet girl, she isn't surprised on how well he did with the sketches because she knows that Rowan sees for her for who she truly is. Rowan understands what she needs even when it comes time to get in tatted up, baby. And the next time Rowan tattoos her is in Kingdom of Ash. He also gives her something she needs, which is a map home hidden in the tattoo, which her map home is to him. Rowan warns her not to move and begins tattooing. The pain from the salt and iron ink is intense, but Selena welcomes it, knowing it's meant to remind her of loss. As Rowan tattoos her, Aelin begins to pray. Prayer she should have said years ago for her parents, uncle, and Marion. She tells the gods about their lives, their bravery, and asks them to keep their souls safe. Her prayers and Rowan's tattooing fall into rhythm, like a sacred ritual.
I'm about to go off on my moon shit again. Are we ready? I'm about to have one of my crazy moments. When the tattoo is done, they head outside. Quote, Rowan followed her into the nearby night dark field, kneeling with her in the grass as she tilted her face up to the moon and sang the final song, the sacred song of her household, the Fae lament she'd owed them for 10 years. Rowan did not utter a word while she sang, her voice broken and raw. He remained in the field with her until dawn, as permanent as the markings on her back. Aelin kneels under the moon and sings the final song that she feels like she's owed her family for 10 years. This is literally like a funeral that she never got to give them. But also, like I said before I started reading this, you guys know that I'm obsessed with the moon references in this series. Aelin means moonlight and Selena means moon, so the fact that this whole ritual is under the moon is very symbolic. Again, this entire moment is both a death rite and a moment of healing. Aelin gets to honor her past and release some of that grief that she's had to keep locked away for 10 years. And Rowan, staying there, offering silent support, is everything. He again becomes a witness to both her pain and her transformation.
As this chapter ends, we get a description of Selena's tattoo. Quote, 3 lines of text scrolled over her 3 largest scars, the story of her love and loss now written on her. 1 line for her parents and uncle, 1 line for Lady Marian, and 1 line for her court and her people. On the smaller, shorter scars were the stories of Nehemia and of Sam, her beloved dead. No longer would they be locked away in her heart. No longer would she be ashamed. I'm sorry, but Aelin, I'm laughing because I'm trying to keep it together. Okay.
Fully crashing out.
Literally. Aelin's tattoos tell the story of her greatest losses, and each line honors someone she loved and lost. Instead of hiding her pain, she wears it on her skin without shame. This tattoo becomes its own kind of scar. It's a tribute. It marks her healing and her decision to carry the moments of her beloved dead openly. And I don't know if y'all have ever been through some shit, but I feel like when you finally face it head on and you finally just let yourself feel it and you can talk about it without crying, or you can talk about it without being like, fuck, I'm so pissed or I'm so upset or whatever. You know that you have fully embraced it and just let it happen. And I feel like in this moment, that is what makes this moment so powerful, in my opinion, because I feel like we've all been there. We've all been through moments like that. So I don't know. I just love it.
And now to our witches. The war games begin with each Iron Teeth clan, the Blackbeak, Yellowlegs, and Blue Blood, tasked with stealing and protecting magical glass eggs. How random. Okay, I was reading this, I was like, okay, it's giving Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So, The 13 capture the Blue Blood egg, and as they move to take the Yellowlegs egg, chaos erupts. The Blue Blood heir, Petra, goes for the Blackbeak nest, but Isra brutally attacks her midair because, again, Isra is a true evil bitch. Isra gives her wyvern the order to kill. Petra and Keely, her wyvern, are in a free fall, and everyone except Manon and Abraxos are too far away to help. And so they do. Quote, and Manon didn't know if she gave the command or thought it, but that scream, that mother's scream she'd never heard before, made her lean in. Abraxos dove, a shooting star with his glistening wings. They dove and dove for the broken wyvern and the still living witch upon it. What makes Manon stop? The fact the scream sounds like a mother's scream. I'm sorry. It deeply affects her, and she's not sure if she actually chose to help or just reacted. But this moment continues the internal conflict that Manon's been going through and that we literally can't shut up about. Her growing empathy versus her upbringing, which focused on brutality and obedience. Helping Keely and Petra, who are her rivals, proves that Manon has a strong moral compass. Again, she chooses their life over victory. And we see how Abraxos plays a role too. He dives without hesitation, supporting Manon's choice.
Her character arc, I'm sorry, there's so many good characters in this series, but her character arc is unmatched. Like, it's very much unmatched. But anyways, and I don't know how many times we've said that, and I've probably said it a million times, and I'm going to continue to keep saying it. But anyways, Manon's internal dialogue confirms a lot of what we've talked about on the pod. There's a deep connection between a witch and her wyvern. Manon sees that connection between Petra and Keely. Quote, Keely was still breathing. Manon realized as they neared. The wind tearing at her face and clothes. Keely was still breathing and flying like hell to keep steady, not to survive. Keely knew she would be dead any moment. She was fighting for the witch on her back. Keely is fighting to stay alive, yes, but it's not for herself, it's for Petra. Manon sees firsthand how deep that loyalty and love goes. It's more than instinct or training. Keely knows that she's dying, but still resists because of her bond with Petra. It's a moment that challenges everything Manon has been taught, that witches shouldn't love, care, or form attachments. Manon has felt that connection between herself and Abraxos, and now sees it here. Keely's final act is to save Petra. That bond contradicts what Manon is supposed to believe, and it's slowly cracking away at her tough exterior. She is slowly shifting away from blind obedience and brutality into something like into the Manon that we know and love in Kingdom of Ash. At this point, Petra is unconscious and barely hanging on to Keely, who is dying, but still trying to stay in the air until Manon and Abraxos make it to them. Keely flattens out to act as a landing platform, responding to Abraxos' roar like she understands. Manon tells herself the rescue is for politics, but she feels the love between Keely and Petra. Manon leaps onto Keely mid-air, cuts Petra free, and ties them together. As they fall, Abraxos swoops in and catches them just in time. Keely crashes into the canyon floor and dies. Her final act is one of sacrifice and loyalty.
The Blackbeaks win the word games. Manon is named wing leader. But all of the praise and congratulations mean nothing to her because her grandmother is disgusted that Manon saved Petra. And Petra is destroyed by Keely's death, which, I fucking can't. Quote, the next day, rumor had it, Petra would not rise from bed. They said she had been broken in her soul when Keely died. And this all is very full circle because when Manon attacked Iskra for whipping Abraxos, Petra was the one who visited them and talked to Manon. She hinted to Manon that she felt that deep connection to Keely as well. Petra is the witch who tapped her heart as she told Manon that she felt Keely could speak to her in here. AKA in her heart, and now Keely is dead. So Petra is heartbroken because Keely is gone because they did have that soul bond, and it's the same kind of bond that Manon and Abraxos are slowly but surely developing. And I'm fully crashing out about this whole episode.
Oh my god. Why, Sarah? Why are you doing this to us? But anyways. And so, despite what her grandmother might think, Manon does not regret her decision. As they celebrate Manon becoming wing leader, her grandmother offers her a new cloak. But it's not just any new cloak. Quote, there were grunts and curses, but the crowd gasped in hunger and anticipation as a brown-haired shackled witch was hauled forward by 3 yellow-legged cronies and forced to her knees before Manon. If her broken face, shattered fingers, lacerations, and burns did not give away what she was, then the blood-red cloak she wore did. The Kraken Witch, her eyes the solid color of freshly tilled earth, looked up at Manon. How those eyes were so bright despite the horrors written on her body. How she didn't collapse right there or start begging, Manon didn't know. Rhiannon Kraken II has entered the chat. This is the Kraken witch that was caught lurking around and has been held and tortured. This is also actually Manon's half-sister, though Manon wouldn't know that until Empire of Storms, when the Blackbeak matron reveals that fact along with the fact that Manon is half Kraken.
Manon's grandmother offers the Kraken witch up as a, quote, gift. Manon can end her life and take the witch's cloak. Manon steps up to the challenge, but hesitates internally. Quote, for a moment, Manon stared down at the witch, her mortal enemy. The Krakens had cursed them, made them eternal exiles. They deserved to die, each and every one of them. But it was not her voice that said those things in her head. No, for some reason, it was her grandmother's.
Manon hears the hateful thoughts she's supposed to have, but the Krakens are their eternal enemies and deserve to die. But she realizes that those aren't her thoughts. They're in her grandmother's voice. Manon is beginning to question her beliefs and recognize her grandmother's brainwashing. She is starting to separate her own thoughts from her upbringing. And Manon is starting to realize that hatred is not natural, but rather it's been taught and forced onto her. Rhiannon Kraken, beaten and dying, recognizing Manon and calls her the White Demon, telling Manon that she's feared and hated. She refuses to beg, instead taunting Manon and pointing out the cruelty done by her own kind.
The Kraken tells Manon that her death will be a reminder, not to others, but to Manon, of what the Iron Teeth made her into. She reveals the Kraken's true secret. They pity the Iron Teeth because their salvation was always in their own hands. And this dialogue is a slay. Quote, we pity you, each and every one of you, for what you do to your children. They are not born evil, but you force them to kill and hurt and hate until there is nothing left inside of them, of you. That is why you are here tonight, Manon, because of the threat you pose to that monster you call grandmother. Sound off. The threat you posed when you chose mercy and saved your rival's life. She gasps for breath, tears flowing unabashedly as she bared her teeth. They have made you into monsters, made Manon, and we feel sorry for you. This is her half-sister. Rhiannon directly calls out the Iron Teeth system for forcing cruelty onto their daughters, killing, hating, and obeying without question. She reminds Manon that witches aren't born evil. They've been shaped into monsters by abuse, manipulation, and control. And this entire exchange hits Manon so hard, especially because she's already begun to question her grandmother, the Iron Teeth, and what she was raised to believe. The Kraken reveals that Manon's mercy, aka saving Petra, is seen as dangerous to her grandmother. Kindness threatens their whole power structure, and we fucking see that later on. Her words are full of compassion, not hatred, flipping everything that Manon was taught about the Krakens being the enemy. And what Rhiannon says, that Manon was made, really just drives home that Manon's identity was stolen and reshaped by her grandmother. We also have things to say about that in the Maas verse, but we cannot talk about them. I see you. I see it. We hear it. We know. We see it. And this whole thing is a turning point. The Kraken, aka her half-sister, plants a seed of truth in Manon that will grow into rebellion, identity, and ultimately redemption. The emotional impact of this entire moment goes even deeper knowing that this witch is Manon's half-sister, someone who shares her blood and still chooses pity and love over hate. I can't fucking believe she made her kill her.
I know. It's actually so sick. She's sick and twisted.
It's sick.
Manon kills the Kraken, obeying her grandmother, but she's having a lot of feelings about what the witch said. Later, alone on a mountaintop with the Braxos, she reflects on the Kraken's words and feels the weight of what she has done. Quote, she would have dismissed her, wouldn't have thought twice about it if it hadn't been for that look in Keely's eyes as she fell, fighting with every last scrap of strength to save her Petra, or for Abraxos' wing, sheltering Manon against icy rain. The wyverns were meant to kill and maim and strike terror into the hearts of their enemies. And yet, Manon lists off all the events and situations that have taught her what it's like to feel, what it's like to love and care for someone. All of these moments have started to create doubt in Manon about who she's supposed to be and how she's supposed to act and feel. There's something more there, and Manon can feel it.
I love that she's like Abraxos' wing sheltering her against the icy rain. I need to stop crashing out over every single quote. I'm like, I'm crashing out. And this one too. Manon realizes that she's thankful that Abraxos is there with her and that there's more she's been feeling since everything happened. Quote, then there was that other strange feeling that pushed and pulled at her, making her replay the scene in the mess hall again and again. She had never known regret, not true regret anyway, but she regretted not knowing the Kraken's name. She regretted not knowing who the new cloak on her shoulders had belonged to, where she had come from, how she had lived. Somehow, even though her long life had been gone for 10 years, somehow that regret made her feel incredibly, heavily mortal. The first time Manon feels regret is when she killed her half-sister. I'm laughing because I can't crash out again. Manon wishes that she had learned the Kraken's name and story, recognizing her humanity and not just seeing this Kraken as an enemy. Again, this hits so much harder because this Kraken is Manon's half-sister. Manon is starting to question who she is and who she wants to be. Feeling regret makes her feel mortal, not like the emotionless killer that she was raised to become or that she is supposed to be. And I can't. And that's it for this set of chapters. We're done crashing out. We're so sorry. How could you not, though? I hope you're crashing out with us.
And next, our favorite moments. These are moments in this set of chapters that we really just loved.
My first favorite moment is definitely during Selena's face-off with Maeve. Quote, you wanted a demonstration? Selena said quietly. Sweat trickled down her back, but she gripped the magic with everything she had. One thought from me and your city will burn. It is stone, Maeve snapped. Selena smiled. Your people aren't. I love this because Maeve doesn't know who she's fucking with. I love seeing the arrogant side of Aelin come out again because it really is one of my favorite aspects of her character. And I know that people hate on it, but I love that Aelin knows that she's got one up on Maeve right now. And she isn't afraid to be a little sassy about it. It is such a badass moment and I love it. My second favorite moment is very sad. It's when Manon is about to save Petra from Keely's back after she realizes that Keely's been keeping herself in the air to give Petra a chance at survival. Manon thinks, quote, my Keely, Petra had smiled as she said it. Manon told herself it was for an alliance, told herself it was for show. But all she could see was the unconditional love in that dying wyvern's eyes as she unbuckled her harness, stood from the saddle, and leapt off Abraxos. Again, it just makes me want to cry. Petra is the first person to acknowledge and validate Manon's thoughts about how the wyvern understand them and how the wyvern have a connection to their riders, to their witches. It breaks my heart that Keely dies, but Manon acknowledges that she saves Petra because she can see how much Keely loves Petra. It's not for an alliance. It's not for show. It's because Manon knows deep down that Abraxos would do the same for her.
So, I also have two favorite moments from this set of chapters because why would I not? You know, so much happens in this fucking set of chapters. But my first favorite moment, both of these are from Aelin and Rowan's POV because love them. But anyways, my first favorite moment is, quote, she was as much as a queen as Maeve. She was the sovereign of a strong people and a mighty kingdom. She was the heir of ash and fire, and she would bow to no one. I feel like in this set of chapters and just in this book and like throughout the books that we've done so far, this is the very first time that she's finally starting to fully embrace who she is. And I think that this is just such a powerful moment because it's taken so long to get here. And like the fact that she is just like, I'm not bowing to a bitch named Maeve. Like, fuck Maeve. I don't care who she is. Like, I'm not bowing to her. And I feel like that is something that continues to happen throughout the series. And like, this is really just the starting point for that. And my second favorite moment is in the like fake dream thing that she gives to that she shows to Maeve. It goes, quote, and then Selena set the world on fire. Beloved, immortal, blessed. Aelin. Aelin of the wildfire. Aelin Fireheart. Aelin Lightbringer. Aelin. She raised her arms, tipping back her head to the sunlight, and their cries made the entirety of the white palace tremble. On her brow, a mark, the sacred mark of Brandon's line, glowed blue. She smiled at the crowd, at her people, at her world, so ripe for the taking. And even though like the whole dream doesn't necessarily come to fruition in the end, I feel like this is just so essential to like the ending of Kingdom of Ash and like how we leave off with these characters. And it really she really just does embrace all of these things. And we get to see like such a beautiful wrap up of this story. And I think that like this just kind of like like it just shows you everything, and it just feels very powerful to me. So that's also why I like that one. And lastly, our final thoughts.
When I was writing this, I literally just like my first final thought is that I'm absolutely sick over Manon's grandmother making her kill her half sister. I think it hits you so much fucking harder on a reread because it is so brutal and disgusting and it's layered with so many other things that happen in this book. I really think that Mother Blackbeak is truly just like an evil villain and I hate her so much. But I also think on this reread, I've been reminded that Manon's journey into unpacking her identity started so early. I feel like in my head, Manon's journey starts in like Queen of Shadows, but it really does happen a lot earlier than I remember. And we've said this a lot, but Manon is so complex. And I love being back in her POV and seeing how she grows and how she becomes who she is by the end of Kingdom of Ash. I also just loved revisiting and rereading Rowan's blood oath to Aelin. I've always loved that moment, but I love that he really does do it out of a want to protect her and work with her and not out of a sense of duty. It is just so different from the blood oath that he had with Maeve. And I think the reread really highlights that.
Okay, my final thoughts for this set of chapters is you just can't tell me that these worlds are not connected. I'm sorry. Like, obviously, I'm not going to get too deep into it here, but like, we have said it like 1,000 times in this episode alone that like, stay tuned for our Massverse episode. So when people try to tell you that there is no connection between the 3 series, they're fucking lying to you. Okay. And I just think that like, we knew obviously going in that there was going to be connections because like, we're both crazy and like, we had plans for Massverse episodes, so we knew that there was going to be connections. But I feel like this set of chapters alone made me realize like how many like things that we missed out on the first time that we read this, because for both of us, we didn't read Crescent City when we had initially read Throne of Glass. So going back and looking now, it's just like, it's insane. Like, it's actually insane. But also, I just like rereading this series again and rereading this set of chapters like just makes you appreciate Aelin and Rowan so much more because you see where their story like fully finishes out but like now going back and like re-going through like them swearing the blood oath or Rowan swearing the blood oath to Aelin and all that stuff. Like, I don't know, it's just so sweet and I really do love them. And of course Manon, witches, love the witches, fuck Mother Blackbeak. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say. That wraps up our deep dives for chapters 59 through 62 for Heir of Fire. We hope you enjoyed our analysis and theories. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok where our handle is @BookishRealmsPod, baby.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on these chapters, so drop us a comment or send us a message. Also, leave us a rating if you liked what you heard. It really helps us out.
Join us next week when we continue our Heir of Fire deep dives with chapters 63 through 68, which is the end of Heir of Fire. Until then, keep reading, assassins.
Bye!